I'm Kevin Davis, and this is the Catholic Family Podcast. Yes, I am finally back. I'm back from Rome, enjoying the beautiful, cool air of the Bavarian Alps because, wow, Rome was hot. Awesome. Really enjoyed it. We'll have stories to tell. Hopefully, I'll do a podcast talking a little bit about the experience. But in the meantime, I'm joined by Anthony Alley, who is actually a fresh seminarian in Omaha. So really glad and honored to be joined by him. I don't know if I've had a single seminarian yet. So this is a first. You're a first, Anthony. So I appreciate it. And we're going to talk about a really, really, really important topic. And it's really one that's close to my heart because, well, I suffer from the issues that we're going to talk about. And it's one that I'm sure many, many people are going to really understand and be with us on, and that's talking about addiction to cell phones and the internet, I suppose, and kind of
Mhm.
how we can take ourselves off of that and try to, I don't know, live a full life without our cell phones. And Anthony's going to tell us about how he tried it and the effects that it had on him. But first, Anthony, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and yeah, then what went on with getting rid of your cell phone.
Mhm. Well, thank you for having me, Kevin. I've been looking forward to this a lot. I know we talked about this back in January, but then I got busy,
Life
you're
happens.
busy, so but
Right.
yeah, so I joined the seminary in January. I was working a job, and then the job didn't pan out like I thought, and I just kind of had this moment where I figured, oh, I need to join the seminary because I'd been thinking about it for probably almost 2 years, seriously thinking about it. And so, yeah, I mean, everything just kind of lined up perfectly, divine providence, I guess. But it was a really good first semester for me. I think it's what I'm supposed to do. God just really needed to push me. I
That
needed to
works
have some,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah. But as far as the phone thing, I'll kind of just set it up because the article I wrote about it was about the specific time period of mine. So I was in the town where I went to college in East River, South Dakota. I'm from Northwest South Dakota. Um, I had graduated from college and I went back to Watertown for my summer internship. And I worked for this electronics company for about 4 months. I had my own apartment, and it was my first time living on my own. I was 20. Yeah. And I had gotten my first smartphone my first semester in college, so fall of 2018. And I'd gotten Instagram right away, and I had Snapchat and Facebook. And I mean, just like most people, most kids, I guess I was really addicted to it. The the just gross feeling of going back from, oh, you're looking at Instagram, now you're scrolling Facebook, now you're doing Snapchat, and you're not really doing anything. so so I got to this point where I was living on my own, and I went to work. I had, 40-hour work week, and then I just had all this free time for the first time because where I live, where my family's from, we have a ranch, a farm and a ranch, so I'm always working with my dad. I always have something to do. But here I just had this little tiny apartment, and I didn't really have a lot of friends in town anymore, and I didn't really want to hang out with my college friends anyways because my friends from college were, you could just say party friends, I guess. And so I was kind of just trying to start better habits because I realized this really feels pretty gross, just vegging out and not doing anything and just being on the phone. And I'd been kind of watching different videos and reading about all these just really bad side effects for your attention span, your relationships with others. And so I just kind of went hard at it. And I didn't really have anyone that needed to get a hold of me, so I just wouldn't bring my phone with me anywhere. I would go on walks. I would go to the gym without it, and I texted a few of my friends saying, "Hey, I'm just not going to be texting you. Maybe I'll call you." So I did call people because I was alone. I needed to talk. I'd call some of my friends. I'd call my mom sometimes, but yeah, and it kind of was a progressive thing. I think I deleted a lot of apps off of my phone that were just kind of open up your phone and just I guess you could say just overwhelms you, you know, all these different options. And I mean, the phone, it's supposed to be a tool to help us, but it just becomes such a distraction.
It's tough, right? And it's so quick that, as you say, like even if you go into it with good intentions,
Hmm.
say with Twitter, like I'll go to Twitter with a good intention of trying to find new guests or something, because that's where I get most of my guests, honestly, is from
Hmm.
Twitter. I find these guys and I get to know them a little bit on Twitter. But then I
Oh,
just so quickly I go in with that intention, and I have mostly Catholics I follow and some sports stuff. But really, you find I find myself 10 minutes later scrolling through Twitter. It's just like,
yeah.
so I go in with the intention of, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to check out these tweets, or I'm going to go for 2 minutes, and then really you look at it again, and it's 10 minutes later, and then even worse, I'll do that and make and then I just find myself going to Facebook then, and I don't spend that much time on Facebook, but I don't even really like Facebook, but I still find
Yeah.
myself scrolling through Facebook, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It's really a bizarre thing that it's really an addiction. I mean, I think it's psychological. I mean, I
Hmm.
truly, it is an issue, and I still have it, and it's something that it affects how you live. I mean, it's one of those things that really blew me away. I'm a big sports fan, and I was at
Hmm.
I think it must have been I don't know if it was a playoff game. It was a really important baseball game years ago, maybe 10 years ago. So right when the smartphones were really starting to get big.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there watching the game, and what really blew me away was everyone was filming it. So they're literally looking, they got their hands held up above their heads, filming it and looking at what's going on through their cameras. And I'm like, I mean, and at the time, even I remember thinking, these people are they're not even watching the game anymore. They're literally living through themselves later when they could actually experience it live. I mean, it's bizarre. We are absolutely insane.
It's the simulation, isn't it? It's crazy. Actually, I think I'd written about that in that little blog, but how I went to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They have a really beautiful little, I guess it's the falls of Sioux Falls, and so it's a park, and you go. And at this point, during this specific summer, I was pretty well like averse to using my phone, and I just didn't really bring it with me, and I was kind of like pompous, self-righteous about it. Like I felt better than everyone. And it was, anyways, I remember walking around there and literally everyone was just taking selfies with their family or just pictures of it or videoing it. And like everyone was just looking at their phone. And I was just annoyed. I was like, what are we doing here? This is like a really beautiful place. I mean, of course, you take pictures of things. I take pictures of things when it's pretty, scenery or something, but it was just, I don't know. That was just kind of a
There,
similar
there's
experience
got
as
to
to
be
what
a
you said.
there's got to be a point to it, right? There's got to be a point
Mhm.
where, I mean, I think you just got to say, okay, we're going to take a family picture. We're going to take a picture of the scenery. I think that's fine. But again, it takes over everything. So you take the picture, and then you take another one, and then you share it. And then
Mhm.
once you share it, then you're looking at the comments, right? So your entire mentality then is, I just experienced something, and I want everyone to see what I just experienced. But more so, I want everyone to comment on what I just experienced, or to like it rather than actually experience it. And I had to
Yeah.
Rome, fortunately, was one of the first times in a long time I've really tried not to do that. And a couple times I shared live streams or videos, but I really tried to be like, okay, I'm going to do this once or twice. I'm going to take some pictures, but total, I think I had 20 pictures. And
Mhm.
I really tried, okay, I'm going to really be in the moment. And it was great. And I mean, it felt the week. And what really blew me away was that we were there for 4.5 days or so. And it felt like a month because
Mhm.
my mind was there. I mean, it was there for praying, or it was there for learning, or spending time with the guys I was there with, rather than spending time scrolling through and seeing what people are commenting on. And it's,
Yeah.
boy, people, I mean, and I'm speaking from my own experience. I do
Yeah.
this all the time. So what can we do? What's the solution? We know it's a problem. So what do we do?
Well, I mean, social media is designed that way. The people who made it, I've read this before, like the the people who designed those platforms, they don't let their kids use it
Right.
because they know it's addictive. Because and especially I think Facebook so many years ago they introduced the endless scroll because it used to be you get to a point and it's like you're all caught up, there's nothing else to see. But now, and Instagram's the same way, it just keeps going and going. But they definitely design it to be addictive. And it was actually
Well,
sorry, you go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it was a podcast I listened to by this it's called the Art of Manliness podcast. It's a really good little show, but he interviewed this computer scientist professor guy. He's probably in his 30s, but he talked a lot about, I guess the whole show was about social media and how he'd gotten rid of social media entirely, and how he was saying our entire internet world has just kind of been conglomerated into these 4 or 5 different platforms that are just social media. And he said the internet's actually much more than that. You can do a lot of stuff on there, but that's kind of a side point. The main thing was how he was saying it's so hard to focus on anything when you have the temptation of your phone near you.
Well, and what's even crazier is that as this is all happening, remember, why are these companies, why do they want our time on there? It's because they're selling us. I mean, either they're selling us products or they're selling us as products. And this is another one of the craziest things of these platforms is that, okay, why aren't there there aren't that many ads? There are a couple, but there aren't that many. Why? Well, it's because they're literally learning everything about us so that they can sell it to other companies. That's what they do. That's a fact. And we let them do it. We let them take everything. We let them take our pictures. We let them take our locations, what we shop for. I mean, they know when I'm eating. They know when I'm doing everything during the day. And that's scary. And we just do it. We're just like, okay, yeah, whatever. Privacy. Who needs privacy? It's really nuts. I mean, we are absolutely an insane society. It's incredible.
Really, yeah. And my brother Corbin had shared this thing with me that he'd found on Twitter. This guy was talking with his mom about this care package he was going to send a friend, and they were talking about this deodorant he'd bought, but they didn't say the name of the brand or anything. And his phone didn't even actually see the deodorant, with its camera. I think he'd taken a picture of the backpack after he had packed the deodorant into it. And then a day later, he was getting ads for that same deodorant. So he was saying the phone scanned the deodorant through his backpack or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's possible, but it's just crazy.
Well, I worked briefly for a radio company that sold marketing ads, and the marketing companies, or the tech companies that could pull information about people that they wanted to market the radio ads to, you can't even believe the things they know about you. And how they can target you. They can target you by age, gender, blah, blah. And that's all kind of, whatever. But they really know everything. They know what you're doing during the day. They know, if you spend 2 seconds scrolling at a video rather than 1 second, they'll attach another one right below it. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And as you say, it is absolutely programmed to be addictive. It's programmed to make us think differently. And that's another thing that they proved that which election was it? I think it was during the 16 or 20, maybe it was 2020, that they even admitted that they did program, they were programming people to vote in a certain way. And that, I think Facebook even admitted that. So it's like, imagine that these 4 tech companies have so much control over our minds that they're just able to practically make us think what they want us to think, which is terrifying.
And that's what this Cal Newport was saying. He said people I have seen it personally, like the kids who are using, or just people in general using social media, they think the narrative, it's either the conservative narrative or the liberal narrative, but you're in I guess just what they want you to, just what they want you to think. If it's about politics or anything, it's like you don't really have original ideas or original thoughts about, or opinions about what's going on in your country or anything.
Right, exactly. And it's all kind of an echo chamber, right? It's all guided to guide you along the path that you're already on, because they know what you like and they just keep feeding you that information. So you don't ever really get the other side of it. And it's interesting when you see like countries like Russia just kind of banning everything, and now Russia has their own problems. But it's kind of like, I mean, when you see that these companies have so much power, and look at the power they have over kids. I mean, I like TikTok, and TikTok is like I don't understand it. I've never downloaded it. I don't really understand it. I see some videos, and it's just like these really short videos pretty much that capture attention, and they are as loud and noisy as possible. I'm sure you know about it, but anyone watching who doesn't know TikTok, it's kind of like it's anything that can grab your attention quickly. And that this is a Chinese company that is absolutely using propaganda or whatever to promote Chinese interests, which is, and that's a fact.
One second, Kevin. I think I'm having problems with my audio here. Maybe I have to. Can you say something again? Oh, there you go. Okay,
you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay.
Yep, I hear you.
So far my connection has been really good. So I hope
it was just like it was like a 5-second bit,
okay, got it. Hopefully it was just on your end, but it was probably on my end. My internet connection is ever spotty. A problem. Yeah, but I connected a cable today, so I'm hoping. Oh, I'm really hoping. I hope that the LAN cable is going to solve the issues, because, well, I mean, I have many issues with technology and social media, and well, I continue to complain about it, and I don't really do anything different. So again, I mean, what do we do about this? I mean, do we? Because cutting cold turkey is something that a lot of people say. I've said it probably 10 times in my life. I'm done with my phone. I'm done with social media. And maybe I'll do it for a week or a day or 30 minutes. I mean, and I'm not saying you're the expert here, but what's your suggestion? I mean, neither of us are experts, obviously.
Right.
We're talking this through. Well, what do you think? What do you think is the best way to wean yourself off of this?
Well, I think it's just the big thing is I think about younger people specifically don't really understand the danger and what it does to what it's doing to your soul. Really, it's just distracting. It's all very distracting. You can't.
At best.
Yeah, exactly. At best, it's distracting. But really, people just don't really. And I have kind of gotten lax on it too, because I guess I just have more now that I'm home, or during the seminary, I guess during the seminary, I never really used it because you can't. but where was I going?
How do you wean yourself off?
For me, the thing that helped was just making it like a focal point and just kind of noticing, I guess, going a day without it and then just seeing the differences in your interactions with people. Because the biggest thing I notice is just interactions with people are so much nicer when they're just so much more organic and real and genuine, whenever you're not, someone's not looking at what'd you say? Sorry. Right. It's just really annoying and frustrating.
Or even for yourself, right? When your own attention is, I mean, I have it all the time. I really do. And it's totally an addiction. I mean, my brain is, I'm sitting there talking to whoever, I'm having a great time, or I'm even at a party or something. And I know sometimes my brain will go to, oh, I really want to check to see. I don't even know what. It's like, I seriously don't even know what I want to check. But there is there's that something in my brain that's like, I have to have that fix. I have to have that. Oh, what if I miss something on the internet? It's that whole idea of I could, maybe the world's going to explode and I'm only going to find out on Twitter, and if I don't look, then I'm going to miss it. And it's really, again, it's totally insane, because as you said, what sort of interactions and friendships and relationships are we missing out on by thinking we're going to catch the next big thing on the internet? And I think maybe that's more of an older person's issue rather than a younger person's issue, but it's the same problem that, this idea of trying to get that your identity is online. That's a real problem. I think especially for young kids that they identify with their online persona, not with their true persona. And that's dangerous.
Because I mean, you put online what you want people to see, and people get a false idea of you, and then you get a false idea of yourself because of that, because you're putting what you want them to see. But I think something I just thought about, that this guy Cal had suggested is, I mean, you've heard of dopamine fasting before, haven't you? It's kind of
I
a
think so,
trendy
yeah.
thing. It's kind of a trendy thing now. It's like what he suggested was just delete all of the superfluous apps off of your phone, especially the social media apps, and kind of maybe set a time for checking your email or Facebook, but do it on your laptop instead. Because then it's just more of a set thing. You sit down, you open your laptop, you're okay, I'm going to look for this thing specifically, and I'm done. Whereas on your phone, you can sit there. It just seems a lot more challenging to pull yourself out of that than on your laptop. But those are a couple things he said to do. Like he has a 30-day challenge. He would have people who came to him. He would just say, delete all your apps and just like basically don't look at any social media. Don't even like text people if you don't really have to. Just call people and just let some people know, hey, I'm doing this. And of course, I mean, if it's different once you're an adult, you have responsibilities and things. There's things that need to be done. Like I think of the priests, they can't really do this because they are always on call. They always have to have their phones on them.
Right.
So it's different for everybody. But I think, especially for a younger person who you don't really have all these responsibilities, it would be a lot easier for a younger person to try these because it really is just, it comes down to discipline, but it also comes down to understanding why it's important to try, because you can get a lot more out of life if you're not just going to the phone when you're
Right.
bored or
Well,
uncomfortable.
and what is one of the paths to sainthood, right? Is giving up our will. I mean, I guess that's really practically the path to sainthood is putting God's will above our own, which sounds pretty easy, but it's immensely hard. That's why there, are far more people in hell than there are in heaven, unfortunately. And but that's where you got to start. You got to start with what you're eating. If you're overweight, okay, why? What I mean, okay, maybe some people have issues with something, but usually it's because you're eating bad, and you're not walking enough. So how do you solve it? Okay, well, you go and you walk and you stop eating bad. I mean, like it's pretty simple. Sanctity is very hard, but it's extremely simple. I mean, to deny
Mhm.
yourself and deny your will. I mean, and again, it's so easy for me to say that. It's so easy for me to say, like, come on, just do it. Just delete everything. And then, and I know that after this podcast, I'm going to want to sit down. I'm going to want to scroll through Twitter. So it's like, so I think maybe it is something. Maybe it is something that we, especially men, I suppose, and women too, but
Mhm.
maybe we do need to challenge ourselves. Maybe we need, because that's something that I talk about all the time on the show and others too, that we need to do things more together and be in it together rather than alone. And I think maybe that is
Right.
something. Maybe you need a group of people that says, okay, 30 days and we're deleting off of our phones and using the laptops, because that's a good idea. Because I would say I still need to use Twitter in order to find guests. And I
Mhm.
think that's pretty true.
Right.
But I
Right.
do think that if I use the computer rather than my phone, I would be safer for it. I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a big problem that I think it is it's become natural, but really it's very unnatural. The way, like, I remember, so when I was in high school, I had a little slidey phone.
Me
I
too.
didn't have social media, which I thought I was missing out on a bunch of stuff because, and this is really stupid because I went to public school up until my senior year, then I went to Omaha. I remember I'd go into class and some of my friends would be like, "Oh man, the group chat was crazy last night." And I would be like, "Oh, dang it. I
Right.
wish I was a part of that." But oh, where was I going? Now I lost it. Yeah, like you go out to eat with your friends and everyone's on their phone, no one's even talking to each other. It's
Right.
just disgusting.
Right.
It's really it's And especially when I was the kid who didn't have the phone, I was like, well, I guess I don't have anything to do. I don't know. I'll just sit here and twiddle my thumbs.
And
So
what's another side effect that I've noticed that I don't know if it's necessarily because of phones, but I think it's part of it, is the inability to make decisions. I mean, everyone is indecisive about everything, and no one is willing to commit to anything. And I think it might work also with phones and that not even instant gratification, the idea of what's next. What more could happen? If I do this, what might I miss? And this is something that I've seen. I plan events and music fests and stuff, and people will not RSVP until a week before, even though it's like I want to strangle people. But I really think it's because people, and I've had people tell me this. It's because, well, they don't know for sure. Maybe something else will come up, and it's like, what else is going to come up? I mean, it's like, yes or no. Do you want to do it or not? And I think it is. It's a real issue that it comes from that idea of I might miss something. It's miss something from other than what. And so I think people actually miss out on things, thinking that they might miss out on something that actually doesn't even exist. And so our whole worlds are built on this fantasy, like this unreality, and it's bizarre. And as you said, it's exactly as you said. It's not natural.
Yeah, it's the FOMO, the fear of missing out. But you're missing out. You're missing out more so.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, in this time, this time that you're spending on your phone, I mean, think of what else you could be doing. I mean, I got to think about that all the time. It's like, I mean, could you be even making more money? Could you be praying? I mean, obviously prayer is the number one. I mean, what could I be doing to save my soul? But you can also think, okay, if I'm not just scrolling through Twitter, maybe I could be having starting a business on the side or something. I mean, making, practical things that I think people before these smartphones, I think, would do more, or go spend time with your family and friends. I mean, it really is such an issue that you think like I've gotten notifications, right? I've gotten mass messages about big events in someone's life. So someone got married or had a kid or something, and I didn't get a message, I didn't get a call. And this is people really close to me. I got a mass message or a Facebook post, and I do it too. And it's like, I mean, it's like, so we think instead of calling grandma and grandpa or uncles and aunts or whoever, or mom and dad, that we can just post it on Facebook and, oh, they liked it. That's cool. Just as well as 20 other John Does who I've never met before. I've got all these people who graduated Omaha 15 years after me who are my friends on Facebook, and sometimes they know as much about me as my mom does. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane, and I do it as much as anybody. It's absurd.
And that's something I've heard before too. People trying to give ideas to people, helping them wean off or just use it better, use social media better, is like, instead of sending a major life event to everyone or posting it on Facebook, that's just not normal. Like, just message it to a few of your friends or something. If it's like, I do that now. I don't have really any social media but Facebook. I got rid of Snapchat and Instagram, and now, especially with all the propaganda on there, that stuff's just terrible. I would suggest everyone just get rid of Instagram and Snapchat, because more so than Facebook, they're really pushing the agendas, I guess, especially like, transgenderism and stuff like that. It's really just evil. But anyways, just sending something to a few of your friends, like sending a cool picture to a few of your friends instead of everybody you know. And something I noticed, because my Instagram account, pretty early on, I basically just started using Instagram for uploading guitar videos, because I like to play guitar and I make things up on guitar. And so I would just post little 30, 45-second clips of me playing something. And even that, it was like hard for me to convince myself this is really necessary. Is this not just vanity or something? I'm putting this out there, I tell myself, because, well, it's actually good content. It's just music, it's something I made. I worked on it. I'm proud of it. But then on the other hand, oh, this video didn't get as many comments as this video, I guess, and that always comes into it. It's like, I couldn't get that out of my head to not look at the likes and the comments and everything. So it's just unhealthy, because you're just looking for approval from others. And then if something works and you get a lot of likes, well, then you're just going to start doing more of that. And I don't know, but
well, and as you say, approval from others. And most of these people are someone I've never even met. A lot of these people. I mean, like my Facebook, I don't know. I got, they say 400 friends. I don't even know. I bet you I've met 100 of them, Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
it's really, I mean, and I used to be pretty strict about who I allowed, who I accepted as friends. Now that I
Mhm.
have a podcast, I just accept everyone because it kind of
Right.
helps to get the word out. So it's a little bit different, but
Right.
still, it's like I get some that get lots of likes, and I get others that get zero. And it does kind of it doesn't even bum me out, but it is kind of a, oh, okay, that's interesting. But it's like,
Yeah.
if you go through, it's like, okay, who liked these, who liked this post? And it's like, okay, somebody from India and Africa, not Dominic. Dominic's my friend, but someone else from India. It's like these people I don't even know, and I think that's, again, it's really strange. It's so impersonal, and I think it makes
Yeah.
us all kind of like robots. It really does. It makes us think statistically rather than emotionally, almost. And I think that
Mhm.
it really is dangerous. And think about it. I mean, I got a phone also when I was 18 or 19, 18, I think, and this was when they were pretty new. And so I didn't have a childhood at all with smartphones at all. I mean, like,
Right.
we had a big desktop computer where we could play video games sometimes, like 30 minutes a day, sometimes, if we were being good. And that was it. And we played Call of Duty or whatever, whatever we
Yeah.
played. And we didn't go on the internet. We had email and we had AOL, and so I mean, I didn't grow up with that, and thank goodness. And I'm addicted now. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm addicted, and I didn't grow up with it. Imagine these kids who start from 4 years old with a tablet. What their brains are going to be mush.
Yeah. I noticed the other day, me and my siblings went out to eat in Omaha, and there was a young family in the booth next to us, and both of their sons were below the age of probably 7, and they both had a tablet watching their own movie. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Because, I mean, we have no idea what the effects of that are going to be, but it's not going to be good. And I mean, even long-term studies of phone usage or social media usage, like I can see it in teenage kids, like a young 13, 14-year-old. You can tell which kid has had social media for the past 2, 3 years or whatever, and the kid who doesn't have social media, because they will come up and talk to you, and the kid who has social media will not talk to you, or they're very uncomfortable, or because it's antisocial,
Right.
because you're like, your brain thinks, oh, I'm getting all this feedback, this is all actual real analog conversation, or back and forth, but it's not. It's digital, it's not personal. You don't have the eye contact or the facial cues or anything. So how is that social?
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, it's a pandemic. It
Mhm.
really is. I mean, it's absolutely. I think it could be catastrophic. It probably already is. I mean, you look at,
Mhm.
even the child suicide rate and whatnot. I mean, it really is absolutely horrendous. And I mean, I've got a 2-year-old. I understand the why you would want to give them a tablet or something, because you just like, okay, I just want peace for 5 minutes. But then,
Yeah.
what's crazy is that my wife looked into, like, YouTube for kids. She really, my daughter barely ever watches any screen time at all. But the little bit that she does, my wife said, okay, maybe you can program. She thought you could program what they could watch, right? So you could just set up a list on YouTube. No, that's not how it works. They program it. So that you have
Mhm.
YouTube for kids, and they have all of this selected programming that they want your kids to watch. And if you watch it, it's also just garbage. Not
Mhm.
necessarily transgender or anything, but it's, the whole Disney, me first, who cares about everybody else movement. and
Mhm.
and that's bizarre. And I mean, YouTube's that's and not just for kids. I mean, I've got a YouTube channel that's called the Catholic Family Podcast. I've only ever viewed Palestrina, and I post Catholic videos, and still on the front page they got women in bikinis. It's
Yeah.
like, what on earth is going on here? They don't know.
Yeah.
I could be a kid. I could be a
Yeah.
10-year-old, and they got, I mean, truly barely clothed women, barely. And it's like, I mean, first of all, why do I have to see this? And
Right.
secondly, anybody could see this. Anybody. And so giving your kids any sort of device, uh, it's a path to hell. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. I mean, parents out there, I know that sounds harsh. If you give your kids cell phones or anything else until they're, I don't even 18. I don't even know. I mean, again, I'm not a moral authority. Talk to your priest. This is just my opinion, purely my opinion. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying my opinion. I mean, just how close? I mean, how close is the? There goes my camera. Sorry. How close is the most evil you can find on the internet in the world? It's one, what, 2 clicks away. You're just, it's just there. It's for anyone to just reach out and grab in 2 clicks. You got the most evil stuff you could possibly imagine, and we're giving these devices to our kids.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Can't. It's not even a question.
And I actually just read something about this a couple weeks ago. Like there's Snapchat for kids too. And the person who wrote this article was like, I mean, these for kids platforms, they're just, how would they say it? You're just priming your kids for these new these older social media platforms. I mean, it's not any better. And if they're making it for kids, you can bet, like you said, there's just going to be propaganda in there. It's not like it's going to be anything you actually want your kids to watch.
For sure.
And yeah, I mean, as far as when you should let your kids have phones, have you heard of like a minimalist phone?
I think so. It's just for calling and texting. I think I know the idea. I think
Basically, like one of my friends had one. It's called the light phone, and you can text. I think you can text, you can call. It had Google, or it had Maps, some form of maps, and then it had podcasts. And that was like the 4 major things you could do. And he had it for almost a year, and then I think it got broke or something, but he loved it. And this kid he's out of high school like me. He was working. I don't think he was going to college, but he said it like his attention span and his ability to focus on things was just like way better because of that. And
I believe it.
yeah, I mean, I think I said at the beginning, it's a tool. And so what's the tool aspect for your kid having a phone? There's absolutely no reason for that. If he
Except for
needs a phone,
contact. Right.
yeah, get him a flip phone. I mean, they don't
Right.
need, and I guess that comes down to the thing where, well, my friends, who cares?
Right. Are your friends going to hell? I mean, my mom would always say, if they jumped off a cliff, would you also? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
this is not a difficult question. I mean, it's not easy, but it's simple. I mean, it really is simple. You can't give your kids cell phones. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no discussion about it. I mean, as you said, maybe something with, phone, that you can call people and text people and whatnot. But with internet, no way, no way.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids ain't going anywhere close to a smartphone until they're 18, and then maybe. I mean, I'm going to ship them off to convent in the seminary immediately at 18. They don't even get the choice. Sorry, guys.
Right. Yeah. Switching topics a little, I guess something I said earlier reminded me of being able to focus. That was one of the big things I noticed when I did do the experiment. It was probably a good 3 months of that summer is when I got really aggressive, I guess you could say, about it. And I mean, it was like a newfound skill being able to focus on things. Because in high school, or middle school and high school, I would play my guitar for like hours, probably too much, but I got really good at it in a really short period of time because I didn't have, I mean, I probably had other things I should have been doing like chores, but when I had my phone, I couldn't get deep into it like I used to, and then other things like I learned how to sew. I was like fixing, I had like a backpack that I fixed for myself. I was painting. I was doing all this stuff I never did before just because it's like, I guess if you were to try not using your phone for a while or getting rid of the apps, something that I figured would be important is like have a plan for what you're going to do with your time, because I mean, you know what that's like. You just instinctively reach for it without even thinking about it because you've been wired now. Your pathways in your brain are just like, what's going on? Let me see the instant gratification. And so yeah, it's like have a plan somewhat of what you want to do, because something else is I've noticed is the phones, it's like they keep people, like you said, I could be starting a business. A lot of kids don't even know who they are or what they like doing or what their passions are. Like when I did this, I got back into, I love to journal. I love to write stories. I like reading a lot. I love playing my guitar. I did all these things that I forgot about or things that I was just too distracted to get into, because it is hard for our brains to focus on something for more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes at a time. There was actually this thing I saw on YouTube a few weeks ago. This kid in college, it was a YouTube video. It was like how I studied for 12 hours a day every day for over a year. This kid would study for an hour, take a 10-minute break. He was in college. He didn't have a job. I mean, obviously that's an extreme example, but he got like the epitome of focusing on work, because he said it was a real challenge, but the progress he made, because you can't make progress. Like I remember my mom's told me, and I've heard this elsewhere, like it takes you 15 minutes to get back into what you were doing when you've looked, scroll Facebook and you're like, okay, it takes you 10, 15 minutes to get back to where you were mentally, to where, okay, I'm really going to focus on this and study this or get this writing done. And, yeah, it is just a discipline thing. And I mean, like since I wrote that article and since I did that summer, I've gone back and forth really drastically on, oh man, oh my goodness, I need to get rid of social media, or I need to stop, I need to get back to how I was, because it's a really great feeling. And then after a while, it becomes kind of your baseline normal, because
Right.
for a little bit of time, it's like, this is amazing. I
Right.
can focus on things. So yeah.
Well, it's that, again, it's that idea. It's the addiction. It's that gratification. It's that for me again. It's that okay. What am I going to miss?
Hmm.
And it's so fake. It's just so fake. You're really missing, as you said, learn the guitars. I think that's awesome. I mean, learn a skill, write a book, read a book. I mean, I feel so much better just having read a book rather than scrolling through social media. But I
Hmm.
just don't do it. I just don't do it. I don't. I barely read anymore. And it's one of those things that I've done podcasts with some guys who are a lot younger than me and have read a lot more books and are a lot smarter than me. And it's kind of like, wow, why? Why have I let that happen? Why have I wasted that time? And
Hmm.
it's yeah, it's just because I've let myself go. And I think that is it's absolutely the trick of the modern world, rather than use it as a tool, right? Use it as a plaything of the devil, because
Right.
I mean, it is idle, it is idleness, it is doing something that is not worthwhile. I mean, look at the
Hmm.
saints. I mean, do you think the great saints ever wasted a minute of their day? I can't even imagine. I can't. I mean, thinking that I was just at St. Anthony's in Padua. I mean, can you imagine him even for 1 minute scrolling through Facebook?
Yeah.
It sounds stupid to think about it, but think about it for a minute. Say go back in time, give him a cell phone. I mean, what
Yeah.
would he have done? Would he have maybe he would have used it as a tool, possibly, but wasted
Right.
time on it? Of course not. And if that's our goal, what are we doing?
Hmm.
So okay, here I think we need to do it. I need you to help me. I need all the listeners to support me in this because it's a struggle. But I say we do. I say we do it for 30 days. I say we get rid of all the apps. And I say, when's a good day to start? The Feast of the Sacred Heart is on Thursday, I think.
He,
Is
yes,
that Thursday?
Friday.
Friday. All right. That's my recommendation. I say everyone watching this on their phones, so we can keep, you don't have to delete your accounts. I think that's
Right.
important, because I think that's going to probably keep people from doing it. Delete
Right.
the apps on the phone. I think that's a really good way to do it. That'll keep you from
Hmm.
just scrolling all day long. Use it as a tool. I say we do it 30 days. And I say
Yeah.
we check back in 30 days and see how it goes.
Right. And and now, I mean, I did that over almost 2 years ago now, and I've accumulated apps since then that are
Yeah.
probably unnecessary. So I probably have to go do it again too. But um, something that just came to my mind was, oh, I remember. When I was doing this thing, I'd gotten, I didn't have any of my social medias, but on your phone you can like swipe left and they'll just have a feed for you, like a news feed, without even going into an app. That's how my Pixel is. You
Mm-hmm.
just swipe left on your home screen and they'll give you a news feed. And I remember one day after work, I kind of just sat down. I didn't really know what to do next. And I started scrolling, and then I caught myself. I was just like, oh, what am I doing? Because I'd been really like self-disciplined. I was really doing good on that. And I was just like, oh, this is terrible, because I'd gotten my brain used to working or doing something real. But I mean, yeah, you just think about how crippled kids are going to be because of that. It's really just scary to think about.
And what, yeah, crippled, and also, and obviously just the occasion of sin, but also, yeah,
Mhm.
what skills are they going to miss out on? What
Yeah.
kids are never going to learn to play the guitar? What kids are never going to write a book,
Mhm.
or read a book, for goodness sake? And
Yeah.
that's a really, really serious. I think it's almost criminal. I mean,
Mhm.
I really do. I mean, it's a crime of society that we're allowing this to happen to our kids. I mean, it's an
Mhm.
absolute travesty, and I think that as Catholics, we just can't let it happen to our kids. We just can't let it happen. We can't let them have cell phones, and and really, really limit and secure their use of the internet. I mean,
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, that's absolutely certain, and I think that we got to start with ourselves, because if our kids see us, and again, speaking as a parent,
Yeah.
and this is how crazy my daughter does, as I said, barely ever uses the phone, but she sees me scrolling through, and so she will get she'll get a fake phone or an MP3 player and pretend to be scrolling through. You
Yeah.
know, from the few times she's used a phone and from seeing me do it. They're watching
Yeah.
us. They watch everything we do, and we're just, yeah, I mean, it's really a travesty, and I think we got
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't happen. So that's what I'm saying. On Friday, starting Friday morning, all the apps got to be deleted from the phone that are not necessary. Check your
Mhm.
emails, check Twitter, whatever you got to do on the laptop. I think that's a really good idea. And I say we do it for the whole month of July, starting on the Feast of the Sacred Heart. That, I mean, I don't know who all is with me here, but if you're with me, please comment on this video, or
Right.
on Facebook, I suppose. Let us know that you're doing
Mhm.
it. And hey, let's check in on each other as we go. I mean, because again, we can still use these platforms, but
Right.
let's check in and say, hey, what have you started? What have you done with your time? And I think if we even talk with each other about that as a community,
Mhm.
whoever watches this, and we say, hey, hey, I picked up the guitar again, or whatever, I think that'd be
Mhm.
cool, and maybe that'll help each other, kind of give each other a little bit of a boost. Because I'm coming back after Rome, and I really feel that way too. That I had a best week in a long time, where I really was not on my phone, and
Yeah.
I felt great about it. I really, my mind was so clear, and I felt like I was there for a month. It felt so long because I wasn't distracted. So let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it is a lifestyle change, and I think that's why so many young people don't. They're afraid to do it, because it's like, yeah, you've just grown up in this certain mode of being. You're only doing. I mean, yeah, you're just living through this phone. You're living through a screen or a device with all this curated information. And something I noticed that I thought was really interesting with some of my friends, or with me as well. It's like the only things you have discussion about or conversation about are things that you found on your news feed. The only thing we talk about is what our phone is feeding us. It's like you're not actually living anything. You're just like, oh, the Notre Dame Cathedral burned down, or something like that. It's like
Right.
your only conversation is from this device. It's not from like a shared experience you had.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly. So there are fewer experiences, right? And it's just
mhm,
it's living vicariously through. I don't even know who it's through. It's through
yeah.
a machine, I guess. Yeah.
Here's something I wanted to ask you about. Um, and I want to try to word this correctly. I don't remember where I read this, but someone was saying the way our modern world is now, so much stock is put into these transient events, just these passing events. Sports is a good example. People put so much of their lives into sports. Like, I'm a Vikings fan, sadly. The Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. But, sports is a good example, or I don't know, like a TV show, a certain reality show. And this guy was saying so much of our knowledge, and I can think of my family, we know I'm so good at like naming actors and movies. Like that's something I know a lot about, and it's kind of a useless skill really. And this guy was saying back in the, hundreds of years ago, like in university, let's say, you were learning philosophy, or we were learning like the great truths. We were reading the great books, like written by the theologians or ancient philosophers. And it's like we've substituted this actual essential learning and character growth and gaining in virtue, and just even history of the world. No one knows history anymore. That's why all the critical race theory and stuff is going on, and why our political situation is as bad as it is. But he was saying we've replaced all this essential learning with passing information that isn't going to be important in 1 month or even a week. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think so much of, and it's a topic I really want to talk about with classical education too. I mean, I think,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those, the communists and Freemasons, whoever you want to blame it on, they knew that they had to attack the children if they wanted to take over society and take over the world. They had to take, they had to start with the children and start and attack the church from the inside, and they've done both. So they infiltrated the church. They took over and started a whole new church, as we know, with the Novus Ordo, and they attacked our children through education primarily. Now it's through everything. I mean, now it's everywhere you look.
Mm-hmm.
But they started with education, and they started to teach. They stopped teaching philosophy. They stopped teaching theology. They stopped teaching music and language. They started, especially in the U.S. Europe's a little bit better, and they started teaching. They started deifying experts. And they started saying, okay, well, so and so said this, and thus it is, rather than learning how to come to a conclusion and how to think. You had to memorize what someone else said to be. And that's a real error in education. And so
Right.
instead of learning how to come to conclusions and how to test hypotheses, you're just learning what someone already tested and what they said to be true. And it's science these days. It's not science as we saw through COVID and everything. It's just someone coming up there and saying, this is true. Well, Dr. So-and-so says it's true, and thus it is true. And that's of course, that is not scientific. And that's the world we live in now.
Right. And another thing about that, like there's college classes where, all right, we're going to read the classics. So we're going to read, let's say Plato or Shakespeare or, okay. Yeah. But we're going to read it through a feminist lens or, right. And they do this. It's like, or we're going to read the Bible through a feminist lens or, let's say critical, because it's all just critical. That's like the postmodern philosophy. You're taking these great texts from hundreds and thousands of years ago, and you're reading it with our modern values, which is really no values at all. But yeah, it's just insane. And then it's like, okay, so now you're just teaching these kids to just think about, let's say, this Shakespeare through how your professor taught it, which is, well, he was obviously, misogynistic or something like that. And so they're just going to discount or not discount. They're just going to write off all of these different literatures and think, okay, well, we're so enlightened now, nothing that they said in the past was worthwhile.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and if you think about it, right, you would study a thing, and then you would study even the opposite side of the thing. I mean, you study to learn, not necessarily with religions, but with philosophy. I
Right.
mean, you're trying to learn how to come to a conclusion. How do you understand how the world works? Not how somebody tells me how the world works. That's not. I mean, theology is the one thing that does kind of work that way, where that this is because it is the truth that comes from God.
Right.
But the other ways of thinking are, and I guess mathematics too, but many of the things are in theory. And so how do we learn to interpret theory and to understand the world around us? And we just don't think like that anymore.
And that's, I mean, that's why this, honestly, the Black Lives Matter riots kind of sent me down this path, and it was, the phone thing was like a just a side deal, but I really started looking into history and philosophy and stuff. You have all these kids coming out of colleges, and they've all just been convinced that they're victims of society, and it's because of the way they teach these classes. So you're not teaching kids to think, you're teaching them to feel, how would you say, entitled to things, and that society is out to get them. And I
Well, and
mean,
to be ruled by your emotions, right? I mean, it's no longer reason. It's no longer, especially the Thomist idea of reasoning thing. And you come to God, you come to truth through reason. Everything now is based on emotions. And again, it's all fed to back to the original topic. It's all fed to us through these social media. I mean, it's fed, over and over to try to get us riled up against the others. As you said, it focuses on what we want and believe, and it just pounds it into our brains. It makes us upset at the other side. When it's like, okay, there are a lot of things we should be upset with the other side, but it shouldn't just be this. It's not even just not like black and white, but it's kind of ridiculous how it all works. It's far oversimplified, and it becomes political, and you don't have the same lines of right and wrong anymore. Right and wrong would be, moral and bad, moral and immoral. And now it's kind of political and the other side of the political side. It's bonkers.
And it divides families like nobody's business. Like, I would love to see the statistics on, let's say, like divorces after Black Lives Matter came out or after the vaccine came out, because you may, what am I trying to say here? I mean, it's just kids going against their parents because their parents don't believe in all the newfangled whatever, and the kids do. And that's a direct consequence from everyone being just entranced by the social media. And that's
Absolutely.
even, and this was something we read, I think, in ethics or sociology, the sociology book in the seminary. And this was written in the 30s. This guy was talking, Glenn was the author. He was discussing family life, modern family life 100 years ago, and how he said, in the cities, it's like the family life has kind of been destroyed, maybe not destroyed at that point, but he was saying, your mom is going off to the bridge club, the dad's going to golf with his buddies, your sister's going to hang out with her friends, your brother's going to hang out with his friends. It's like the home is no longer the nucleus, like the family is the nucleus. Like the home should be where the family can just have mutual entertainment with each other, like playing board games or sitting around a campfire or something. And I think this is where the phones come into play the most. Like, take what Glenn was talking about 100 years ago, and it's like, well, now everyone can be in the home, but everyone's doing something different because they're reading they're scrolling through their own things or watching their own YouTube videos. It's like there is no connectedness in the home. And that's like, I'm sure you've seen that. You go into a room and no one's talking to each other because everyone's on their phone. You're just like, you feel icky.
It's true.
So
yeah, and yeah. I'm part of it, and it's
Me too.
really true. And I think, again, but as we've talked through all this, you see the issues, you see the addiction issues, you see the immoral issues. I mean, you see how they're doing it all to sell us. They are selling us. They're selling our information. They are. You have TikTok that's run by China, and they are giving propaganda to our kids. I mean, these things are all absolutely true. And again, if we know this stuff, we are so insane to allow it to continue. And I've been there too. I'm not judging anybody. I mean, this is me too. So, but it's so true. We have to wake up as a society. We have to wake up and say, okay, we got to get rid of this stuff. We have to at least tone it down and use it as a tool and not as an addiction. And just like if you're addicted to alcohol or something, work it out, and you got to have support. So again, I think let's do it. Let's support each other. I better run because I think my kids, I hear crying in the background, and it's bedtime. But I've really appreciated it, Anthony. I think it's a great topic. And I'll try to attach a link to your article on the Catholic Wire. Obviously,
Okay.
good friends of ours, Father Zepeda and the Catholic Wire. I guess we're good friends of his too, since we're published on his platform as well. But Anthony, I really appreciate it. Maybe we can have you on again sometime during the summer to talk about it. I think we could have talked another hour. Boy, start talking about philosophy and stuff,
Yeah.
and I could go on forever. But
Mhm.
no, I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed the conversation, and I'll leave you with last words, and then I'll wrap it up. Do you have anything, any last advice? And again, everybody, Friday, we're going 30 days. Friday, all the apps are gone. All right. So I'm going to do it. So anyone with me, comment on YouTube. That's the best, or you can do it on Facebook or Twitter as well. But Anthony, last words, and then I'll wrap it up.
Well, thank you for having me on. This has been really fun. I love talking about this stuff, but I guess, I mean, yeah, I'm not an authority on the subject, but everyone has seen how it affects their relationships with each other and their relationship with God. You know, like your prayer life really suffers with the phone usage. It's really hard to focus. So, yeah, just take it seriously. I mean, I need to take it. We all can become lax on these things, but it's a serious issue, and there is a better mode of being. There's a better way to go about your life than to live through the phone screen. So, yeah, just take it seriously and help each other out. I mean, be supportive of people if they're not going to be on social media. I've noticed that people think it's kind of weird. Social media is weird. So, but yeah, be supportive of others who are trying to work on it, and yeah, take it seriously. You'll reap the benefits. There are a lot of benefits.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely right. And someone, what did somebody say? We're living in the ruins of a greater civilization. And when you go to Rome, you really see that, and you see the great things that people built. And we think we're so arrogant, we're so prideful, and we think that we have it all. We're so smart, and we're really not. We're really remarkably stupid. But let's take that, and let's, as you say, let's take that seriously. Let's understand that. Let's understand. Okay, then let's fix it. Let's be, that change that the world so desperately needs.
Mhm.
And I think it's going to be a lot easier to do it if we're not looking at our phones. So,
Yeah.
but make sure you don't get rid of your podcasting services, so that you can still listen to the Catholic Family Podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Let us know if you're going to be doing this with us. Again, please still listen to this podcast. At least I'll continue to put it up, I hope, on Podbean. We got great shows coming up. I got an author coming on that I'm really excited about. Hopefully at the end of the month. I got two authors coming on to talk about two totally different topics. It's going to be fantastic. Other guests, I hope to have priests on as well. So everyone who's watching, stay by. We're back we're out of vacation mode, so we're getting back to work. So I hope you all stick with us. Anthony, again, thank you so much, and maybe we'll talk to you again sometime this summer. If not, best wishes to you. Everyone, please say a prayer for Anthony. Pray for his vocation, for him to know his vocation, for him to persevere in whatever his vocation is, and pray for more vocations. And also pray that the bishop somehow finds enough space to put all the seminaries that he is getting, because he also needs money. So if you
Yeah.
have any extra $100,000 laying around, send it over to Bishop Hiverunas, because he needs to build a new seminary, because it's getting too full, which is a good problem to have. Anyway, I'm done with this wrap up. Anthony, God bless you. And until next time, take
God
care.
bless you, sir. Thank you.